So, maybe you are brand new to Guild Wars 2 and you have never done World versus World, but you really want to just jump into it. Suggestion number one, I'm on a character who's not got any World versus World going on. You can see I have no filled in marks here. Suggestion number one for World versus World, actually get to level 80 first. When you go into World versus World, it's not the best experience in the world for leveling up, and being level 80 and having some sort of gear actually does make a difference and does matter. The way this is laid out when you first hit the World versus World icon up here, it's the little castle. It'll show three sections right here, and these three sections are actually based on a server. So when you first start playing, you're on a server, and how well your server is doing is going to be right here. You can tell what server you're on by the little house symbol right here. So I know this is my server because there's a little home right there. Now, there's a bunch of maps. Obsidian Sanctum down here, not a lot of people spend a lot of time in. There's basically a training arena, and then it is a jumping puzzle. It is a jumping puzzle with PvP. Jumping puzzles can be annoying in and of their own selves, so adding PvP to the mix means a lot of people don't really go to this. Edge of the Mists, also, a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time at. It is a map that essentially is on a ton of platforms, and there's these massive bridges out to the platforms. So when you first load in, you're over here in a corner, whichever corner you're in, and you can see there's all these platforms. You can take over stuff, but there's limited access to the things to take over. So there are a lot of people who also are hesitant to come play this one, but it can be fun to knock people off the edge and watch them die. As just saying. So for the Edge of the Mist, stuff that you do here does contribute to stuff, but it again, it's not everyone's necessarily favorite map to be on. In actuality, when you're doing World versus World, the majority of the time you're going to either be on Eternal Battlegrounds, or the Desert Borderlands, or the two Alpine Borderlands. So if I right now pressed Eternal Battlegrounds, well, I guess I will, it'll take me to the map with the big, insanely large, massive castle in the middle. And then all three different servers have a corner, and they can expand out into other people's corners. You can see the green expansion into the blue right here, and then the red expansion into the blue right now. And blue's getting picked on because blue has the big massive castle in the middle. On top of that, there's these borderlands, and you can see the home server controls up in here. So right here is not mine, so I cannot waypoint to the primary citadel. And you can see right here, Sea of Sorrows is my server, and so I can teleport here. But if I wanted to go to this one, once again, it's contested. You can see which corner is your corner by there being an open waypoint there. And when you start taking over keeps, and you hold them long enough, they also can get waypoints in them to make it easier to traverse, long distances on the maps. When you first enter World versus World, there's a couple of things that you want to do. The very first thing is, if you have the free game, you want to go ahead and just find a commander and run around with them, and you'll get a bunch of speed boosts from that. Because if you have the expansions, you can get a mount, but if you don't have the expansions, you can't use the mount, and so you want to run around with a group of people who are helping you speed around. The second thing you want to do is go ahead and start being able to pick up supply. Supply, you can see up in here, let you hold stuff, and you can actually put points in to get more supply, but you get 20 from picking up at a keep, and you get 15 from picking up at a tower, and then you get like 10 from picking up at a camp. So to get the most supply for your pickup, you want to go ahead and pick up from a supply depot. The third thing you want to do is go ahead and open up your tab because you want to start getting rewards. So right here you can see a big match overview. You can see, hey, there's pips that give rewards. And for that, you're going to have to do anything. The more you contribute, the more you are running around taking, structures or taking points of importance, helping kill other players. You start getting pips per countdown every 5 minutes, and the pips help you get to treasure chests that you can see what's the reward of, and you can even see, hey, you get this treasure chest per rank in here. This right here, every 5 minutes, you can also see down here. So down here you can see your next reward is showing not that treasure chest. That is because if you go back in here and go to reward tracks, it'll actually be whatever reward track you are currently working on. So you want, as you're killing stuff, you'll be getting contribution toward your reward track as well, so that you get extra rewards from both of these things. The last thing that you're getting is World versus World experience, which is down here in a bluish bar, whereas in PvE it's a yellow bar, and your World versus World level is separate from your World versus World reward tracks and your pips. So there's lots of gains to be had from doing World versus World. The last thing you want to do is come down to ranks and abilities, and this right here is determined by your level. So I am level 440, so I have 440 points I can put in. Now I have very, very specific ones that are the most important ones to me that you can get and max out. First one, gliding. Being able to glide in World vs. World, you have to have the Heart of Thorns expansion unlocked. And, oh my gosh, it is so freaking important. Next, Warclaw Mastery. You don't have to actually max that out, but at least get it to the extra stamina bar. It makes a big difference. You have to have Path of Fire unlocked to get the Warclaw Mastery. You can go further on and everything. It definitely is useful. Like, you can pull on gates with a Warclaw. Like, there's some nice stuff. But in actuality, what's going to be more important is supply capacity. Being able to hold an extra 5 costs a lot. Like, it's expensive. So don't expect to be able to get to that very fast. But your first ones, it's only 25 World versus World levels to be able to hold 2 extra supply. And that 2 extra supply really can go a long way. The other thing that's really important to get is this Provisions Master thing. Getting it to auto loot is precious. When you are in the middle of fighting, you do not want to have to be spamming your loot button. You just want your bags to come directly to you. So getting your auto loot is super important. Cannot recommend it enough. Once you get that, then it's important to get stuff like, hey, when you spend your supply, it's more useful. Or when you're repairing stuff, it's more useful. When you're spending the supply, it's less of a problem. You might be like, man, I keep getting killed by these guards, so you put it into guard killing and guard defenses. You might be like, I don't know what any of these siege engines are, and that makes you scared of them. That's okay. You can look at them another time. It's totally fine. It is useful, but you learn as you play what different siege engines do what. Once you get done putting in a few of your stuff, however many you can, if you're first starting out and you're level 1, you're not going to be able to do any just yet. Then you go out and you start doing stuff. Now, right now, you can see other players are these little green dots, and they're kind of just hanging around. Here's a piece of siege. If I get in it and then immediately get back out of it again, I made it last longer. You can make the timer on siege that people have built go back up just by hopping in it and hopping out again. Siege engines that people have built, they can disappear after enough time of not being used. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want someone's siege engine that they put down and it got built with supply to be wasted. So if you happen to see one, just hop in it for a second and then hop back out so that it lasts longer, and if someone comes to attack the building, it still has all of that there to protect it. Now, the people that are coming this way, we don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something. And honestly, that's how a lot of World versus World goes when you're very first starting out. You don't know what's happening, but you know people are going in a direction, and you just want to follow. And it looks like they're taking a tower. Hey, taking a tower could be cool. So you just come follow them, and you try to get in before it's done. And hey, you got credit. Well, now you feel good, and you got your chest. So then you keep following them. That's a lot of World versus World when you first start out. But again, even though you can come do this before level 80, you're going to be weaker. So you want to be in as big of a group as possible if you're really going to be in something less than exotic gear. For World versus World, you get points that tick up for your server. The longer things are held and the more things are taken. So on the actual points right over here, these points pop up when, like this right here, this is being escorted. I'll come help escort that, and then it'll probably pop up some points. I don't know if you noticed when we took the tower some points. So it's really all about, you know, the longer that it's controlled and the more that it's under your control, the more points your team gets. But this is all done in time periods and actually resets weekly on Fridays. On Friday night, the servers get repaired. So maybe your server really got stomped all week long. Well, on Friday, it's going to try to put you with people more on the level that you played at and match you with servers that might not stomp you. Maybe you even stomp them. It's always trying to keep things as balanced as possible and have you playing against players that are more your same skill level. Well, this guy did not give us any points because he did not deposit any supply. Oh well. So you can see cross swords right here. This means this is under attack. You can see cross swords on the castle. That means it's under attack. So if there's a waypoint in the castle, they can't use it because it's under attack. Let's go try a borderland. See if we can do something fun. So right here on the desert borderland, we own like basically everything. So maybe there is a commander there. Now commanders can have big giant armies following them. So just be prepared to turn down your player count if you need to, because you can get some lag going on if you don't turn down how many players are playing. I don't see a commander. It's kind of early in the day. It's like only one, so it's pretty early for there to be a lot of people playing with commander tags right now. For my server in particular. Let's see what this one has. Maybe it's better. The other thing with World versus World is you do not have to actually be in a big giant army. As you saw, like a little like cluster of like 8 people or whatever took that tower, and that was fine. A lot of times people like to go in 5-man groups and just sort of take stuff like camps and guard posts and stuff like that. It's totally fine to do that if that's what's fun for you. Sometimes people literally just like to go duel people. It's a big open world and you can do whatever you feel like. Right now is not a good time of day, apparently, for big armies. But you can go watch lots of other videos that have big armies fighting each other in it. Fighting over castles and siege and stuff like that. I'm just running towards something that I can solo take. Like this little guard right here. So, this is just a little sentry guard post guy.
6 feet tall! Strength of the pack!
Yay. And then I just stand in this control point and it'll fill up here, and that'll be that, and I'll get credit. Easy peasy. You can get siege engines from vendors, or you can get siege engines from other players who are selling them on the trading post. You can get siege golems, you can get arrow carts, you can get, you know, catapults, anything like that. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, how do I get siege engines to help take over a tower or whatever it is. So see how I actually contributed? Now I got some pips for actually helping. So skirmish is all done. So now it will be starting into the next little bit. And I got credit enough in my reward track that I got the next item on my reward track, and now my credit is way down here. So every 5 minutes this fills in. You can get participation up pretty high, and then as long as you take like one camp every 5 minutes, once it's maxed out, you can keep the participation going and everything happy. That's really about it, except that you do have build templates, and you can use a different build template to have a world versus world build and equipment templates and all that. So this is equipment template 2. So I can put totally different equipment in here from what there is, put it in there, and it will be saved. And then under my build, I can go to the second build and just go ahead and be like, yep, here we go. This is the build that will load automatically when I enter world versus world. So my first one's PvE, second one might be PvP, and then the third one be world versus world. And automatically when I load into world versus world, it'll just put that one on. Really, really nice to be able to do. Make sure you have the equipment and the weapons in your bag, though, if you want it to auto-equip them. There are invisible bags so that you don't accidentally delete stuff. Here is the vendor that you can buy some siege engines from if you don't want to buy them from other players.
Interested in something
And you can even use badges of honor to buy some as well, which badges of honor you get from basically doing anything in World vs. World, so you don't have to really stress about that. I should probably put my other build back on. There we go. There we go. Alright, that's for the most part the majority of it. If you have Path of Fire, you want to get your War Cloth, you do actually have to do an achievement collection that starts with this person. It's not an automatic, oh hey, here you go, you're handed a War Claw. You do have to actually earn it, but it doesn't take that much effort to earn it. It's pretty quick. And, yeah, that's about it. Everything else is all later. You know, like legendary armor and all that stuff. I hope you enjoy World vs. World and exploring what the game has to offer, if that's what interests you.